Welcome to the Ranveer Show, India's smartest podcast. With this podcast, I've got three goals. The first goal is to constantly add a lot of information to your mind through these conversations. The second goal is to add a lot of inspiration to your heart to get you fired up. And the third goal is to bring you perspective. I want to bring you conversations that you wouldn't have in your regular day-to-day life. So on this episode, we've got Kuntal Joyshur. He's the first vegan to ever climb Mount Everest. I call him India's vegetarian superhero. He's also one of India's most famous mountaineers, and he's got some of the most amazing, breathtaking, exciting stories that you will ever come across in your life. So through the podcast, I've tried kind of digging out the best of the best from his stories, all his near-death experiences, all his encounters with death, how he's seen people near him die, how he's seen a lot of dead bodies on all his adventures. It's a very kind of dark but interesting podcast. I hope you'll enjoy it. And I know that by the end of this podcast, you're going to be fired up enough to go and chase your own dreams. This guy's story is extremely beautiful, and this guy's words are extremely exciting and heartfelt. An engineer turned mountaineer, Kuntal Joyshur. Enjoy yourself. The Ranveer Show brings you a very adventurous episode. We've got India's most famous mountaineer, the king of the mountains in India, Mr. Kuntal Joyshur.
Really glad to be here, Ranveer, and happy to be here and share my story with you.
Yeah, another interesting bit on Kuntal is that he's the first vegan who scaled Mount Everest.
And twice,
Wow.
not just once.
Crazy. And you're someone who really promotes the concept of vegetarianism, the concept of veganism in this country. In fact, man, I've turned vegetarian after a conversation that I had with you. As in, not immediately after that. You're one of the factors out of many. But talking to you about how vegetarianism has affected your body, your stamina, really got me thinking, got me reconsidering my non-vegetarian habits. We'll get to that later. But I want to get to the engineering vibe first.
Right.
You're an engineer just like I am.
I am an engineer, and frankly speaking, engineering is what changed my life, and it put me a lot of discipline and rigor in my life. But also I had a lot of fun during those 4 years of bunking the college and coming always in the blacklist and not showing up for the practicals and always being, screwed for the vivas. It was great, 4 years of life that I had, and it's also sort of made me the person who I am today.
Yeah.
So really, amazing 4 years.
Nice. So, bro, basically, you did your engineering, you went for MS, you worked, you realized that maybe, life can bring you back to India. You came back here. And then, was mountaineering a part of your plans?
यार मैं एक बात बताऊंगा पहले तो कि लुक आई एम अ गुजराती, आई एम अ कच्छी. मैं एक भानुशाली कम्युनिटी से बिलोंग करता हूँ और टोटल 80,000 भानुशाली है पूरे वर्ल्ड में. किसी ने आज तक एक फ्लोर भी क्लाइम नहीं किया. ठीक है, तो मैं ऐसे बैकग्राउंड से आता हूँ जहाँ किसी ने एक फ्लोर भी नहीं क्लाइम किया है. प्लस मैं 110 किलोस का था बैक व्हेन आई वाज एन इंजीनियर एंड आई वाज वर्किंग फॉर अ सॉफ्टवेयर कंपनी. तो माउंटेनियरिंग तो था ही नहीं किसी भी प्लान्स में. It was just by chance, and this was a trip that my wife and I took to Shimla, and all we wanted to do in that trip was कि हमें स्नो देखना था. दीप्ति ने अपनी पूरी लाइफ में स्नो को टच नहीं किया था और मैंने 20 साल हो गया था स्नो को टच किया था. So we said चलो यार, let's go to Shimla, and we went in the winters thinking we will see some snow. For the first 5-6 days we saw nothing, so we were really disappointed. फिर हमने बोला चलो यार स्नो देखने तो कुछ तो करके देखना ही है. So 7th day we go to this place called Narkanda. It's about 80 kilometers on the Hindustan-Tibet highway. We reach Narkanda and there's snow all around us. तो हमने हमारा टैक्सी ड्राइवर को बोला भाई हम स्नो देखने नहीं आए, छूने आए. So the taxi driver said let's go to this peak called Hatu Peak. We can drive to the top and you will see some snow there. We drive and about a kilometer into the drive there's about 1.5 feet of snow.
Wow.
तो हमारा टैक्सी ड्राइवर बोलता अब खेल के अब घर जाते हैं यहाँ से, अभी अब बहुत हो गया ये. So both of us go into snow, enjoy our time. And then I don't know what happens, but I tell Dipti that, yaar, we are enjoying so much. Why don't we go a little further? So then we go hiking, and about 4 hours later, we are standing on top of Hatu Peak. And if you ask me one instant that changed my entire life, it changed the direction of my life, it has to be when I reached the top. कभी-कभी ऐसा होता है कि लाइफ में ऐसा मोड आ जाता है. And for me, it was like the state of mind. I was not existing in the future. I was not living in the mistakes of past. that present moment came into extreme focus and I was able to live it. I was so happy. I felt truly alive. And उस दिन मैंने अपने आप को ये बोला, I didn't want to climb mountains. I just said that I wanted to achieve that state of mind over and over and over again. That feeling.
Meditative state of mind.
That meditative state of mind. तो मैंने सोचा यार अब मैं घर जाऊंगा, नेक्स्ट दिन जब भी मैं कोडिंग करने जाऊंगा जॉब पे, मेरे को ऐसा ही फील होने वाला है. नेक्स्ट दिन जाके मैंने मेरा कोड लिखा एंड वो फीलिंग आया ही नहीं कभी भी. सो हम लाइक यार क्या हो गया यार ये, व्हाई इज दिस हैपनिंग. सो अ मंथ लेटर आई साइंड अप फॉर अ वीकेंड हाइक टू हिमालयाज अगेन. Took a flight to Dehradun, a shared car to the base village, and I hiked. The moment I reached the top of that mountain, exactly the same state of mind, and I was able to achieve it. So I said, बस यार, अब ये calling है मेरे जिंदगी का, and I have to figure out कि मैं ये calling को कैसे pursue करने वाला हूँ. And that's how the journey sort of started.
How does someone begin this journey in mountaineering? Like, what is the first step? Is there some course you take?
देखो, दोनों इंजीनियर हैं यहाँ. एंड इंजीनियर सबसे बेस्ट क्या चीज करते हैं? रिवर्स इंजीनियरिंग करते हैं. हर चीज का कुछ भी प्रोजेक्ट दे दिया, रिवर्स इंजीनियर करने बैठ जाएंगे. सो आई स्टार्टेड रिवर्स इंजीनियरिंग के एवरेस्ट को कैसे रिवर्स इंजीनियर करना है. एंड द फर्स्ट थिंग आई रियलाइज इज दैट आई नीड टू बिल्ड स्किल. एंड स्किल बिल्ड करने के लिए मुझे कोर्स करना ही पड़ेगा. जैसे हमें इंजीनियर बनना है तो हमने इंजीनियरिंग किया, सिमिलरली अगर मुझे माउंटेनियरिंग करना है तो मुझे माउंटेनियरिंग का भी कोर्स करना पड़ेगा. सो फर्स्ट अप आई साइंड अप फॉर अ कोर्स एंड आई वेंट टू चिली, which has the third largest ice cap in the world, and that is where I actually did my mountaineering course. And from there on I sort of started getting into two most important things. An expedition leader of mine told me, Kuntal, to climb to the top of the world you need a top of the world mind and top of the world body. तो मेरा लग गया था कि यार टॉप ऑफ द वर्ल्ड माइंड और बॉडी दोनों बनाना है. और टॉप ऑफ द वर्ल्ड बॉडी तो बन जाएगा क्योंकि फिजिकल फिटनेस का ब्लूप्रिंट है, कहीं किधर यूट्यूब पे पढ़ लिया, किसी से सीख लिया. एज लॉन्ग एज यू डू फिजिकल फिटनेस रेजिमेंट्स विथ डिसिप्लिन एंड कंसिस्टेंसी ओवर अ पीरियड ऑफ फ्यू ईयर्स यू विल अचीव इट. बट माइंड वॉज अ कंप्लीटली डिफरेंट बॉल गेम. देर वॉज फ्रेंकली स्पीकिंग नो ब्लूप्रिंट एट ऑल. तो वो जर्नी पूरा अलग ही था माइंड का. बट द होल आइडिया वॉज टू बिल्ड द स्किल, to have the training, to do the hard work, to build the experience, to build that mindset, and finally go and climb Everest after that.
Got it. So a lot of people who actually take up mountaineering, they choose to do Everest very early on in their mountaineering journey. That's what I've heard.